Hi guys, it's Robyn and welcome to my channel. So my oldest boy's birthday is right around the corner and he is obsessed with all types of sharks. So I thought it would be really cool to attempt this great white shark cake today. I hope you guys really like it. So let's get into it. So to start, I have preset my cake leveler to the desired height and I'm just going to start by trimming down these 3 8-inch chocolate cake layers because my kid is obsessed with chocolate and no other flavor cake will do. Now, once we finish trimming these down, we are actually going to save our cake tops because we're going to need these later on when we're stacking and filling our cake because we want to build it up a little bit higher than what the 3 layers is going to be because we're going to do some carving as well. So we're going to take that first layer and we're going to attach it to our cake board using a little bit of icing, and that's going to act as a glue for our cake to stick to. And now we're going to take a big dollop of chocolate American buttercream and spread that out, giving us a nice thick layer in between each of our cake layers because, like I said, he's obsessed with chocolate, so the more the better, and it's also going to help build up the height of our cake a little bit too. Alright, so we're just going to add our second layer of cake, give that a little press down, and we're going to add another big dollop of that chocolate American buttercream, and then using my small offset spatula, we're going to spread that out until it is nice and smooth and even, so when we add that final layer of cake, it is nice and level. Now, once we finish that and we got that last layer into place, we're actually going to start adding some of those cake scraps that we saved from earlier. So because our shark's mouth is going to be open, we only have to make one side of this cake taller. So I've taken each of my cake scraps and I've cut those in half, and using a little bit more of that chocolate American buttercream in between each layer, we're just stacking them up on top of one side of the cake. And this cake doesn't have to be super tall, so 2 or 3 extra layers should do. Then you're going to toss your cake into the fridge to solidify those icing layers in preparation for some carving. So using a small serrated knife or a small bread knife will also do if you have one. We're going to start by making the main shape of the shark, which is going to be sort of a rounded cone shape. So what I like to do when I'm just sort of free carving like this is start at the sides first, make sure those are even, move our way around to the back, round that out a little bit, and then finally come around to the front. So that way when you look at it front on, you should be able to tell whether it's symmetrical or not, and then make any adjustments from there. And now once we're happy with the shape, we're going to move on to the mouth. And now I do want this to be open wide, but I don't want to take away too much cake. So I'm just going to cut away a little bit at a time until I'm happy with where it sits. So what do you guys think so far? Pretty simple and fun, right? If you think so, don't forget to leave a like and hit that subscribe button too. Well, I know my kid is absolutely going to love it. He's going to be so surprised because when I say he is obsessed with sharks, I mean obsessed. He has so many books, shark tooth necklaces, shark shirts, a shark blanket, and he even has a megalodon tooth, thanks to my mom's husband, who happens to be a little bit of a treasure hunter. So he is a really lucky boy, and he even wants to be a marine biologist someday. How cool is that? I am so proud of him. Okay, now it is time for our crumb coat. So because this is a chocolate cake and we're going to be covering it with some pretty light icing colors, I'm going to use white American buttercream for our crumb coat. So that way it gives us a nice light base and none of that dark color is going to show through on the outside of our cake. So we're just going to give this a nice thin coat all over. Going to smooth it out as best as we can, and it doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to be adding another coat later on. And then we're going to pop our cake into the fridge to chill for a little bit, so that way everything is nice and firm and all of our layers are nice and solidified, so it should be good and sturdy when we add our final coat of icing. Because our cake is really soft and moist, making it a little bit wobbly around the top where I carved it, and it's a little bit thinner, but like I said, chilling it and firming it up is going to solve that problem for you. Okay, while he is chilling, we are going to start working on our decorations. So I have a little bit of white fondant here, and I've added some Tylose powder to this to help it dry and firm up faster for us. We're just going to roll this out nice and thin. I'd say about 1/8 of an inch thick, and then we're just going to take our X-Acto knife, cut it into 2 strips, and then we're just going to cut those strips into a bunch of little triangles, creating all kinds of shark teeth for our shark. And while I was making these, I wasn't sure if I was going to do 1 or 2 rows of teeth, so I just made a whole bunch of them, which wasn't a big deal because they are super quick and easy to make. Alright, next up are the eyes, and these are super simple. We're just rolling out a little piece of black fondant, and I don't actually have any circle cutters, so to improvise I'm using a 1M piping tip because it's a nice sized piping tip, and we're using that for our circle cutters. Alright, now it's time to mix up our icing. So we need a little bit of gray for the back of our shark. So I'm taking my AmeriColor Super Black and adding just a couple of little dabs to a good amount of buttercream. And that's giving us a nice medium gray color. Now once that's all blended in, we're moving on to our red because we need some red for the inside of the mouth. And I'm adding 2 or 3 good size droplets to a very small amount of buttercream. So we get a nice bright blood red color. Alright, you're just going to blend that in until there's no more white or colored streaks remaining. And voila, it's ready to use. And now since we have our red handy, we're going to start with the mouth first. Now the reason why I'm doing this is because the belly of the shark is going to be white and I don't want to muck up the finish of the white with any of the red. So we're obviously going to do that and get that out of the way first. Now as you can see, I'm being very careful and I'm just adding a tiny little bit at a time and spreading that out ever so carefully, being very cautious not to let that color spill out over the edge of the mouth, because as I said, we do not want any of that to blend into the white when we add it later on. Now, an easier method of application might be to use a piping bag and fill it in, but you're going to end up with a thicker layer of icing and have to smooth it out anyway. So that's why I chose to go this way. So now that I have it smoothed out and all filled in, we're just creating some lines and grooves to give an illusion of depth, and then we're going to start working on the white. So starting with the mouth, I wanted to give this guy some lips that kind of protrude out from the gum line a little bit. So I filled up a piping bag with a little bit of my white American buttercream, and we're going to give him a nice big plump lip on the bottom and on the top, which we are going to later blend into the rest of the white skin. Now, if your piping skills are a little less than satisfactory, kind of like mine are right now, not to worry. When we're smoothing out the rest of the white icing, we'll be able to buff that out too. Alright, now once you finish piping on his voluptuous lips, we're going to switch back over to our small offset spatula, and we're going to proceed to fill in the rest of the white area. And I'm just taking very small dabs of buttercream on the tip of my offset spatula, and I'm very carefully spreading that out, trying not to make too much of a mess. And we're going to proceed to continue to do that until the entire bottom half of the shark is covered in white. And you don't have to get your white perfectly smooth just yet. We're going to get the rest of our cake covered with our gray icing first, and then we'll take care of that. Alright, now once we've got our white all filled in and semi-smooth, we're going to switch over to our gray. And we're just going to apply this once again using an offset spatula and just a small amount at a time, especially close to the white line, because we want to try to be very careful to get it as close as possible without it overlapping and making too much of a mess. And it doesn't have to be perfectly straight. We want it to look natural, but we don't want it to look sloppy. And now we're just going to do the same for this side, being extra careful, filling that in along the edge, and then paying extra attention up around the nose, as I did find that area a little bit hard to cover. Alright, now once we've got this all filled in, it is time to start smoothing, and I'm using this flexible plastic smoother, which I've actually made myself out of a flexible cutting board, and I just cut the shape that I needed in the size that I wanted using my X-Acto knife. And if that wasn't clever enough, I actually bought it at the dollar store, so it was super cheap. So there is a super money saving tip. And not only are these relatively inexpensive, but these are extremely versatile. You can cut them in any shape you need. I've come up with so many different designs and techniques using these methods, and I've even made some small cake combs. Now, mind you, it's not great for the big ones. You can't replace a good big metal one, but when it comes to the small stuff, You guys should definitely give it a try and let me know what you think. Let me know how it went. Hit me up down in the comment section down below, or feel free to send me an email at any time. You can contact me at therobinsnest@hotmail.com. Feel free to hit me up with all your comments, questions, or suggestions. I am always here to help, and I cannot wait to hear from you guys. Okay, so with all of our smoothing finished, it is time to work on those finishing touches. So the number one most important thing that makes a shark scary is that charismatic smile of theirs. So we're going to give this guy a couple of rows of razor sharp pearly whites. So we're just going to take all these teeth that we made earlier and we've allowed to fully dry and harden. We're just going to take them one at a time and insert them up into the buttercream, and if they're too long, up into the cake as well. So we're just going to keep adding each tooth one by one all the way around until our shark has a full set of chompers. But be careful, he has a very sharp set of teeth and you want to take a bite out of him before he has a chance to take a bite out of you. Well guys, he is almost finished, and will you look at that smile, isn't he handsome? Very charismatic. Alright, we are almost done. We just need to stick on those eyes, and we're going to give them a good press in as well and make them look a little bit sunk in. Now we're going to finish them off with a decorative border of blue and white using the Atico piping tip number 32. Well, that's it for today, guys. I really hope you enjoyed the cake, and I hope you enjoyed the video too. If you did, you know what to do. Leave me a big thumbs up and lots of love in the comment section too. And if you haven't done so already and you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you receive a notification every time I post a new video. Thanks for watching, guys. Remember, fish are friends, not food.